Item number 21, ladies and gentlemen, just a presentation from Irish Water on the Mulhuddart Fall Sewer.
So just to introduce Donnelly Sinn Féin from Irish Water. Donal is responsible for the area in Meath. And just in advance, I know there's other issues with the 9C sewer. Donal's not in a position to answer with the sewer coming in from Meath.
I haven't got a presentation actually as such. As John said, my role, I'm a wastewater operations SLA lead with Irish Water, and I deal primarily with operations for Meath wastewater. And I suppose I was invited just in relation to the odour issue at Mulhuddart. I suppose just maybe to give a little bit of background, and I know most of you are familiar with it and maybe more familiar than you'd like to. There's a pumping main from Kilbride in Meath which serves the sewer, the wastewater coming from Ratoath and Ashbourne primarily. It's pumped on to Kilbride village in Meath and on then to Mulhuddart. The pumped main from Kilbride to Mulhuddart is about, I'm not sure the distance off the top of my head, but it's about 7 to 8 kilometres, I think. And it pumps to a gravity sewer then at Mulhuddart, just opposite the grave. There's also a pumped main, separate pumped main coming from the Hollywood Golf Club on Hollywood Rath housing estate, which I suppose John might be able to talk a little bit more about that afterwards. But so there's actually two separate, what we call rising mains coming there, and they come into two separate gravity lines at Mulhuddart, just opposite the graveyard. They're literally side by side. So the Kilbride Meath one pumps into a 9-inch diameter gravity sewer, and the a 375 millimeter gravity sewer, and the two sewers are essentially side by side, and then they gravitate down through Mulhuddart, down Church Road, and ultimately end up across the river and into the 9C sewer. I suppose I have been operations lead dealing with Meath for the last 3 years. I suppose I was probably maybe under misapprehension that the odour issue, although I was aware of it and I dealt with a number of complaints in relation to it, was chemical dosing system at Kilbride, which the chemical is a considerable annual cost pumped into the chemical. I suppose just maybe in relation to the cause of the odour, it's a hydrogen sulfide problem, and I suppose it's a common problem. Can be worldwide. I'm sure you've all experienced it, maybe on holiday in hot countries or whatever, where you get in Spain or other places where you've dry weather and very hot weather. They're caused by anaerobic bacteria when there's I think there's Pseudomonas and Citrobacter, and there's various anaerobic bacteria that produce this hydrogen sulfide gas, and it's detectable to the human in the human nose at anything above 0.03 parts per million, which is a very, very low level. So we essentially have to prevent it forming. And what can happen, particularly in dry weather, when wastewater flows are low and the temperatures are high, you have a long residence time, so that the sewage takes a long time to get from A to B in the rising main. You therefore get a lack of oxygen. So one of this issue, and one of them is a chemical dosing. We dose in a chemical called Septiox, which is so that they don't produce the hydrogen sulfide gas. So I suppose just in relation to the odour issue there, as I said, we were maybe under the impression that it was fairly well controlled, and I think the majority of the time it is fairly well controlled. However, there have been a few recent mechanical breakdowns and a couple of other issues which have caused it to reappear. Now, there also is the other issue with the second rising main coming from Hollywood Rath, and there is of deterioration. One of the effects of this, apart from obviously the nuisance, the very severe nuisance of the odour, is that it can attack concrete. and the manholes there on both of these gravity mains are showing evidence of deterioration because of the hydrogen sulfide gas. So, I mean, that's on the gravity sewer coming from the church, the Mulhuddart church, down towards the 9C sewer. So actually, there's a program underway at the moment for sewer manholes are being added on to that scope of works to look at, to reline and rehabilitate those manholes. So there's definite evidence of the gas there, but there's evidence on both lines, and I think there's the Hollywood Rats, Hollywood Golf Club rising main. I wouldn't be too familiar with it, but I know it's there. It probably needs something similar in terms of chemical dosing or some other measure to prevent the formation of hydrogen sulfide. And I know there are some issues that was a developer-led rising main. I suppose there are two issues there. Just to say that there is on a positive note, there is a rehabilitation project to look at those manholes and the gravity sewer. And also, I suppose one of the reasons I'm here today is maybe just to hear some feedback, and also to try and commit to redoubling our efforts. We're going to have to, I think, formalise the process more, that we can make sure that dosing is effective all of the time and is reduced to demonstrate that. So I suppose that's my piece for now.
Which Councillor Donnelly now?
Yeah, look, I think it's definitely something that we have raised continuously, because obviously people have been raising it with us continuously. We cannot overemphasise how bad it is. Genuinely, if anybody who's been up there, you cannot overemphasise how bad it is, because people cannot open the windows, their business can't open the doors. People won't come into the village, they won't come anywhere near it if the smell is there. People have to go to school, they go to work. It is really, really bad. I'm concerned that obviously that, you know, there's a sense, you know, knowing that it was that bad, because it's certainly something. If you just go on to our area committee meetings, and you will see it raised pretty much on a monthly basis for the last 6 months. The last 2 months in particular have been very bad, and it's been quite noxious. I'm very concerned about the toxicity of it, in that it's attacking the concrete and it's damaging the concrete. And I suppose the question I would ask is there a health issue for people in the area in relation to this? If it's so damaging to concrete, I just can't imagine what it'd be like for people's lungs. Is there a timeline on the works to be done? And I suppose I'm just concerned that we have, for example, yourselves in Kilbride, who will put this chemical in, and that will deal with that part. But you're also saying that there is another one, which is in Hollywood Rats, which doesn't have this. So is it coming from the Kilbride one or the Hollywood Rats one? Do we know which one it's coming from? And again, there is no point in putting it in one if we're not putting it in the other. Because, as I say, I don't know whether we've got the right one where you're putting the chemical in. And it's something that it really has to be solved, and not just for people who will be buying houses in church fields, as we call it now, the Damastown, on the Damastown Road. It's the people who've been living there for years, and the people who are living in Drumheath and in Parslickstown and Wellview and in Avondale and further on down Church Road. They really deserve this to be dealt with, and dealt with very quickly. Thank you.
Thanks all, and I suppose I'm not going to attempt to defend it for a start. I'm well aware of how bad that the smell is. Any sewage odour, and they're always the same. And I don't envy anyone that has been putting up with it. And all I can do is apologise in terms of the length of time it has been an issue and going on, and try and commit to, I suppose, going forward to putting a plan in. I suppose maybe just to address some of the questions, maybe in as much as I can, and if I can't, I will come back on them. The rehab works, that won't require a planning or remediation of the existing sewers that are there, existing gravity sewers. So it will be happening within a matter of weeks, I understand. And you probably No, there won't be any excavations. It's really just relining and rebuilding. In a couple of cases, I think rebuilding maybe a couple of manholes, but so that'll be happening within a matter of weeks. I suppose in terms of sealing, I suppose really hydrogen sulfide, it is possible to seal manholes, but what happens really is that wherever you seal, you can seal 10 manholes and it'll appear on manhole number 11, and really the crucial thing is to prevent its formation in the first place. And there has been some sealing done there in the first place. In relation to the 9C sewer, it really doesn't have any effect on that. I'm not too familiar with the 9C and the works that are going on there, but no, it's really a separate issue as such. What else? Hollywood Rats is a more recent development. I don't know how. Yeah, I'll let John maybe address the Hollywood Rat issue. In terms of health issue, hydrogen sulfide in parts per million is, and once it goes above 1 part per million, it's horrible, disgusting. But it's not. We're not in health territory at this. Like above 50 parts per million, long term would be certainly an issue, but that wouldn't be the issue here. It's really the nuisance factor. I think that, I don't know if have I addressed all of the questions there, and maybe I'll pass it over to John from.
Yeah, just on the toxicity, in fact, hydrogen sulfide, when it's in low quantities, if you ever had Andrew liver salts and felt the effects of it, it's the same gas. But it does when it creates sulfuric acid, and it's a known problem. And it can also happen with sulfates naturally in the ground attacking concrete as well. In relation to Hollywood Rat, I suppose from an operational point of view, it's not in the operations of Fingal. We're not sure. It's the rising main from there isn't very long, and it's a relatively small number of houses. There is a storage tank there. Maybe that's operating when it shouldn't, and the retention time is longer then as a result. But certainly, when it's taken in charge, it'll be looking at to retrofit to see if it needs retrofitting of dosing to prevent septicity. We do have one or two other locations. The M1 service station has a rising main and a storage tank and a long rising main down to Lusk, and that generated system and created some very bad problems. And so it is a known problem, all right. Tyrrell's down, as far as I'm aware, flows by gravity into this sewer, so it shouldn't be contributing to the problem because there'll be a very short retention time. So the chance for sulfate to arise wouldn't occur. Yeah, I'm not aware of any pumping station for foul sewage in Tyrrellstown. There was some temporary water pumping station there, I think, at one stage. Was there a foul pumping station? Yeah. There aren't two new foul pumping stations going into them, actually, at the moment.
Thanks very much, Councillor Donnelly.
Yeah, just a quick one. Just on the Hollywood Rat pipe. I mean, the Irish Water or Fingal County Council, even though it's privately owned, can an inspection go in there to see exactly what it is, what's going on? Is it contributing to the problem? Because I think it was said earlier on that there are signs of deterioration from that chemical. So I'm just conscious that already it's in private hands, and obviously we're looking to take it in charge. But as it stands, it was stated earlier on that there was corrosion, that there is a problem with it as well. It causes discoloration of the sewerage, and there is discoloration of the sewerage coming in from there, but we only saw it once, so it'll need monitoring. We have inspected the pumping station, all right, but there will be works required there. But in terms of operation and inspection, doesn't really tell you the history of what's happening over the past few weeks with it.